what I really focus on doing is I try to help people, understand this context, understand the psychology that's impacting them, and why their impulses are what they are. I like to always highlight the sort of pros and cons of different courses of action. And most importantly, I try to focus them on things that are productive no matter what, such as markets crash. If you have extra cash, now's a great time to put it in. If markets crash and it's appropriate for this person, hey, why don't we Roth convert some of your IRA and use this downturn as an opportunity to put more money away for the long term. It's appropriate for your family. Why don't we give some money now to your, to your kids while markets are down, or give some assets while you can basically gift more shares at a lower value than you would when markets are up. So that's really where my head is during these things. Is, I used to run away just like everyone else. I used to be the same exact way, and I've evolved into, what can we do that's tried and true and positive under any scenario, but even more positive when everyone else is running and screaming?
Yeah, that's so good. All right, so as we wrap up, what would you have us young folks know? So the millennials out there, maybe those that are just graduating college and they're entering the workforce, in the middle of a pandemic, essentially. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say a few things. The first thing is that your first 100,000 is the hardest. Getting to your first 100,000 in your 20s, it's going to feel impossible sometimes, and it's going to feel debilitating, because you're going to see other young people whose families have tons of money, who maybe are who are, no matter what choices that young person makes, they're good, and it can feel it can be easy to feel bitter sometimes. Is what I would say. I could tell you, for me, going to the George Washington University in DC, complete culture shock. I was like, who are these people? That this person, 20 and driving like a BMW. But what I would say is, while you are young, work your butt off and put away as much money as you can, because when you hit certain life milestones, you get married, you have kids, you're going to be just less tolerant of sort of making huge sacrifices, because those huge sacrifices will affect other people, like your husband or your wife or your kids. So, I spent a good portion of my 20s basically at least in the Department of Defense. In my early and mid 20s, I volunteered to deploy overseas. I worked overtime in crisis work, and every time I did something like that, I just increased the amount of money going into my retirement accounts. And in finance, momentum is super, super important. And do what you have to do now to get out of debt, or to manage your debt, and to save as much as you can, and to get over that hump. Because once you get over your first 100,000, 200,000, if you get into your early 30s and you can get up to sort of those numbers, the snowball starts to pick up a tremendous amount of momentum as it runs down the hill.